Hi, welcome to Best Recipes with Sharon. Today I'm making chicken pot pie and I hope you guys enjoy. And I use the flaky pie crust in this recipe as well. So let's get started here. I'm chopping up 1/4 of a sweet onion. Now I'm dicing up 1 small potato. I like to chop it fairly fine. Now on to the carrots. I love carrots, so I like to do a little bit more of that. So diced carrots, about 2/3 of a cup. Now you'll also need 1/2 cup of frozen peas, and you'll set all this aside so that you can add it easily later on. Now I'm going to show you how to make a roux. You put 1/4 cup of butter in a pan, start melting it around, and add your onions. You'll saute the onions till they start to get slightly cooked, and then you add 1/4 cup of flour. Now you'll leave that on the heat for about 30 seconds, stirring it briskly. As you can see here, it's starting to make a bit of a paste. Remove that from the heat and set it aside until you're ready to add it. Now in a large pot, I've started to cook the potatoes and the carrots just for about 10 minutes, not even, just till they start to cook and get a little bit tender. And that's what I'm going to use to start adding everything else to and make the filling for the pie in this pot. We can add 1 cup of chicken broth and we can add the roux. This adds a lot of flavor. Stir it around, get it together so that it mixes up well and it's evenly distributed. And I'm adding the peas. Now 1/2 cup of whole milk. Add 1/2 teaspoon of poultry seasoning, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, now 1/4 teaspoon of thyme, ground black pepper to taste, a little bit of ground salt. Now chop up some chicken. It's cooked chicken, and I'm quite generous with that, about 1.5 cups. We put together our pie crust. I use the flaky pie crust, so I'm just putting that into the bottom of the shell. And then we don't cook that ahead of time. It's a raw pie shell. Add the mixture to it and put the top on with another rolled out pastry and pinch up the edges. When we pinch up the edges like this, I do it fairly deep. I like to make a little bit of a ditch around it afterwards as well, so that any of the drainage that comes out of the pie will sit there and it'll act like a little bit of a ditch so that it doesn't overflow. Now trim the edges, of course. Now this is where I'm talking about making a little bit of a gully. Now I take a knife and I make large vent holes so that the steam can escape and it doesn't break open the pie shell. I'm going to show you how I make the egg wash for the top of the pie shell. I crack an egg open into the bowl and then I add 1/4 cup of cold water, and I take a fork and then I whisk it quite briskly till it's well mixed together, and then I paint it onto the top of the pie shell. This helps it to brown better. Now I place it in the oven at 375 degrees for about 45 minutes. Oh my, look at this. We'll cut it open and I'll show you what it looks like inside. It smells really good. Very good.